G'day and welcome back to the Murder Valley YouTube channel. What I've got for you today is, well, tonight's race day. So I promised one of our racers, Dave Quick, that I'd have a look at his chassis because it's starting to get a little bit tired. So I'm going to run through a whole complete video of how I build a Mega G Plus 1.7 so that it performs well and lasts well, and we fix some of the things like axle play. The back of this isn't too bad, but you know, it's just starting to get a little bit tired, so it's time to have a look at it. So I've got the dyno here set up, so it's approximately 19 volts. Let's see what it gets. So 19 volts is what we race these things on the majority of the time. Sometimes it's 18, sometimes it's 20, it just depends on the body we're running for the series. But so it's ticking away there. So what's that about? Might get up to 24, might get above it. As they get warmer, they run a little bit better. I'll just pause it for a second. I'll let it finish running so it tops out, so I'm not wasting any more time. Alright, here we are back again. That seems to be sitting up around this point. So there you go. So I reckon it's topped out. So next part of the video is let's start disassembling and getting ready to pull apart and build it. Alright, I'm going to pause here. Okay, so I've grabbed a few things. So there's a 1.2mm drill, 1.5. So 1.2 is the front axle, 1.5 is the rear. Let's pull this thing apart, shall we? Okay, so there's the small parts taken care of. Yeah, these are always fun to get out. Now you got to be, obviously the circuit board's got to come out with the motor. Because it's all attached. So while we're at this stage, you'll see the motor attachment. Trying to get this in focus. You see the motor attachment points come up through the bottom of the circuit board and attach through to the top, and the pickup shoe hangers attach and solder to the circuit board. So one of the things that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be soldering straight from that point to bypass, because what ends up happening is as the chassis flexes, this bends, and you get a small fracture where the motor attachment point attaches to the circuit board, and then you get intermittent running, like it'll run, then it'll stop, and you'll give the car a bit of a tap and it'll come back. So that's the source of what the problem is. But we're just going to put this aside for now, and we're going to move on to a step here of we're going to make some new rear axle holes for this. So the way I go about it is I give myself a little bit of extra. I'll make that a little bit higher. I give myself a little bit of extra length to cut off, so that if I get the hole in the wrong spot, so as we're doing rear axle, we need the 1.5. Okay. So now I've got a Dremel cut-off wheel, and I want to elongate that slot, but I want it to be smaller. Hang on. I need some extra length here. Now I need the slot to be smaller than what the wheel hole is, otherwise it's not going to retain the axle. So then I taper these off so it's like a keyhole. And then I get the axle and have a go at trying clicking it in and seeing how tight it is. Now I've also got a 1.5 reamer here. Making it too tight isn't a good thing, but there you go, that spins pretty free. So I'll just pause here for a second. Okay, so what we need to do here is we're to clean the chassis, obviously. Sorry, just a scungy old work rag I've got. But I need to just remove the oil from the gluing surfaces. And what the aim is I'm going to fit this in here. So this is a piece of white styrene, by the way. This will be easier without a back wheel on. You know what? I'm going to do that. Alright, so I've got a wheel puller here. I just realised as I started pulling the wheel off that maybe some people watching this have not seen a wheel puller in action. Now Mega G Plus have a knurled axle, so if you push the wheel puller all the way through, you may end up elongating the hole, although that's, sorry, not elongating, making it larger. But yeah, I just don't push them all the way through and pull it the rest of the way, but I'm probably still going to have to glue that rim back on. But the beauty of this now is, now I can see, and you can see better what I'm doing as well. So, yeah, so this white styrene rod, this is 1.5mm thick. Thick that way, and then 5mm this way. So now it's just trial and error to get it to fit. Just a little bit more off that. I'm going to take a little bit more off because I don't want it to be tight, because binding axles is not a smart thing. I reckon that's good enough. Okay, so gluing this on, I'm going to cut some of the excess off. Okay, I need some oil, hang on. Okay, I've got a small amount of oil here. So what I'm doing is just lubricating the axle so super glue doesn't stick to it. That makes sense, yeah? Okay, so install the... Actually, I might put the super glue on first. That was probably too much. The beauty of super glue, I've got it stuck to my fingers already. Okay, I had to pay a little bit more close attention to it because I had it stuck to my fingers. but I'm just holding that in place, and the glue on the axle stops the axle from being glued to the plastic. So I'll just hold that in place and then I'll start doing the other one. Okay, that's literally less than a minute. The oil's worked on the axle. Oh, hasn't worked. Unbelievable. Clip the axle back in fully. There's a good how-to video, isn't it? Okay. It hasn't worked. Okay. So I've just cleaned that up a little bit with a file, cut the excess off, etc. But super glued on, and listen to the difference. So when I click the side without the support and the side with the support, oh, that's a nice solid. That's a nice solid click, and this side, but it's still spinning nice and free. So after you glue it on, you get your 1.5mm drill. Sorry, I don't know what that works out to in imperial sizing, but it's easy to Google search and convert, and just make sure that there's no glue or excess in that hole. And as you can see, that's a nice solid clip. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, and then I'll come back. Alright, so I'm just gluing the, I've just glued the second side on. But now I'm just now I'm tidying it up so it doesn't look quite so agricultural. Just trying to make it look like it's more, I mean it's still white, but just trying to make it look like it's more part of the chassis rather than just a garage hack add-on. Okay, so you can see I've still only got one side off the axle. Like one wheel off, sorry. But the I just flipped the axle around the other way, obviously. So what the aim here is, trying to get it to run nice and smooth in there so it clips in and out and spins freely. Because if it doesn't, it's going to slow your car down. Right, I'm happy with that. It's still a little bit tighter than what I'd like, but you know what? It'll run in. Okay, next modification. Next modification, front axle. Okay, so what I've got here is a piece of 0.5mm thick styrene sheet. I'll cut this off a big one. And what we're going to do is we're going to make chassis spaces to go either side. Now, these things are a bit of a pain in the sense that you can't take the front axle out of them. So all I'm doing right now is trying to clean the chassis up, because this is a well-used one, so that when I go to stick super glue in there, I can stick plastic to plastic. Okay, so we take the 1.5mm drill out, put the 1.2mm drill in. And we drill a hole. Now these things don't need to be massive. Looks like I've got super glue all over my 1.2. Hang on, go and find another one. Alright, here's another 1.2mm drill. So this will drill through the styrene easy as. Now it's the same process as before because I need to make it clip over the axle. If I could find a pair of scissors. Hang on, let me go and find some more tools. Alright, so to my knowledge you still can't buy these sorts of things anywhere, right? So I've got a pair of scissors here that I've moulded so my big fat thumb can fit in it. So just cut that off square. A little file, doesn't matter whether it's a diamond file or another type, just as long as it's round. And then I just use the width of the scissors and trim them round, just to make it sort of round. And you know what, you can be as particular as unparticular as you like, it doesn't matter. Alright, so here comes the fun part. Where's a pair of pliers? Alright. Again, the slot has to be smaller than the hole. Yeah, I've got some dags on the back of this, I need to clean those off. Didn't have this many problems when I was making it without a camera on them last week. Alright. Now if only I could take it off take the axle out. Where's my pliers gone? There. There we go, so it's clipped on. So all it does is makes the chassis wider. So I'm going to pause here, I'll make one for the other side and then I'll show you how much difference it makes. Okay, so I finished making the second side and they're just sitting on there now. I reckon they won't stay there. So what I need to do is a small amount of oil on the inside of either side. Again, this is for not sticking to super glue purposes. I'll let this dry. Alright, so I was just letting this dry and I thought I'd show you a tip. Picked up a bit of crap. But yeah, the last thing you want is to glue your front axle in place. What have I picked up now? Right, that'll free up with a bit of track time. How much bite does the wheel have when I go to put it back on? Here it is. This will tell me whether I need... No, that's nice and tight. So I've got a wheel press here, just to make sure I put the wheel back on square. So one of the things I do when I'm pressing my wheels on is just rotate it, just to make sure I've got it. I should have it the other way around because that's the side with the big sides on. You can see how even with a wheel press, it's possible to stick it on crooked. So just take your time. Now I just need to make it so it's narrow enough to get in here, which it's not yet. Obviously this would be more crucial for I was gluing it, because where I stop is where it's staying. Still too wide. So everything we do in the Australian Hoe Racing League has a maximum width. And as long as it fits in this gauge, which is 33.3mm wide, then it's legal. Alright, so that's legal. So there's the axle holes tightened up, so there's not as much play in them. I think I might call this video there, and I'll do a part 2, and I'll do a motor pull down, clean up, and check over. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe. The more subscribers I get, the more interested I am in making more content, and you can always make suggestions of sorts of things you want to see, or even ask questions of how things could be fixed, and I'll see if I can answer them for you.